Good evening and welcome to the February 28th, 2024 City Council Finance Committee meeting. Committee members present this evening, Councilors Walsh, President Zarella, Councilor Boschman, myself, Councilor DiNatale, and Councilor Cruz, who is remote. Please be advised that FATV is conducting an audio and video recording of this meeting for public broadcast. I ask that anyone in the audience who is recording this meeting to please identify themselves for the record now by standing and stating your name and city of residence. Seeing none, at this time I ask that all electronic devices be placed in the silent mode. I do not see anybody here for public comment outside of the department heads who these orders are impacting, nor do I see anybody on Zoom wishing to remotely provide public comment. So with that, we'll move on to the agenda and begin with 038-24, order that the City of Fitchburg hereby approves the expenditure of funds from the Department of Mental Health Police-Based Jail Diversion Program in the approximate amount of $59,000 for the purpose of maintaining the Police Department Crisis Intervention Team. Chief Martineau.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, councilors. Thank you for this evening opportunity to speak on this item. This is a grant that we received from the Department of Mental Health, and specifically under the Jail Diversion Program. We've gotten this grant for several years in the past, but now that we have a full-time clinician on staff, this grant is augmenting what we're doing on a full-time basis on a day shift. So on the day, during the day shift, when our clinician is working and deploying out in the field as a clinician, this $59,000 is allowing us to utilize overtime and have her out there in the evening with police officers responding to crises in real time. So this $59,000 this year will go towards deployments after hours. We work very closely with our healthcare provider, which is Open Sky. They're our provider that we provide resources through. But having a full-time clinician and augmenting it with this grant is substantial to the city and the services that we can provide. With your approval, we look forward to spending this money, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have on this grant.
Council Boschman.
On the grant question, the person that you have in charge with, does it help out? I mean, what happens to the person that has the problems and emotional problems? Do you bring them to Health Alliance?
We look for the best tool possible depending on whatever client we're serving. No two crises is the same, so our clinician, Christina Bellevue, extremely well versed in crisis response. So we look at the situation at hand. It could be something as simple as a talk and a referral to another service, or it could be as drastic as a Section 12 or a Section 35. The most important thing to take out is this, that the City of Fitchburg has taken the steps to provide these types of services to our residents. Having full-time clinical support is extremely beneficial, and we're starting to see the results of that.
We have seen the results?
Most definitely.
All right. I make a go ahead.
Councilor Walsh.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment that I've met the clinician several times, and she's incredible. She's really knowledgeable, and she really knows her stuff.
She really does. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Make a motion we accept.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to accept. If there are no objections on acceptance, it is unanimously recommended.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you. 039-24, an order that the City of Fitchburg hereby approves the expenditure of funds from Massachusetts Emergency Management Performance Grant in the approximate amount of $20,150 for the purpose of purchasing hazmat suits, a dry suit, swift water foot protection, and gas meter upgrades. Chief Suarez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, committee members. So this is an EMPG grant, which is given by MEMA. We've been awarded $20,150. As you mentioned, we're going to be using this money, if you guys approve this, to buy a dry suit, a couple of fully encapsulated Class A hazmat suits to replace the 2 that are expiring this year. Some multi-gas meters. We have a few that are at the end of life, so this will help replace those. And then some surface water foot protection that we need. As like when we responded to Leominster during that flooding, it was something that we realized that we needed more of. This grant is a reimbursement grant, so unfortunately the only way that we'll get this money reimbursed is first we have to put the money forward, buy the equipment that we need, and then submit our invoices to the state, and then they'll reimburse us for this. This is a grant that we've been fortunate enough to be awarded over the last few years, and we're looking forward to using this grant again. If anybody has any questions?
Councilor Boschman?
A dry suit. Bear in mind, what is a dry suit?
Dry suit. So we have a scuba diver, a rescue team, and they use the dry suit
It's like
whenever
when
they
you
go into the
swimming,
water.
When they go surfing and it's cold, they use a dry suit?
Correct.
Okay. And what about the hazmat suit? Is that the one you don't have to wash in the washing machines?
No, the hazmat suits, unfortunately, they're a one-time use. Once you use them once, you have to dispose of them. These are very expensive. They're Class A encapsulated. But if we do happen to use it, sometimes we can get reimbursed by the facility that we're going to, by their insurance companies. The ones that are replacing right now have expired or will expire this year, so we have to replace them now.
Okay. Make a motion we accept?
Second.
Motion made and seconded to accept 03924. If there are no objections, it is unanimously recommended.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, 04024, order that the City of Fitchburg approves the expenditure of grant funds in the amount of $1,407 from the Fitchburg Cultural Council in support of Parks and Recreation Department concerts on the Common Music Series. Director Bunnell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee members. I'm here before you today to seek your approval for a cultural council, the local cultural council grant of $1,407 for this summer's Concerts on the Common series.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a hand up from Councilor Cruz.
I'll withdraw my motion.
Councilor Cruz?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just apologize I couldn't be there in person tonight, but I just want to give a quick shout out to the Fitchburg Cultural Council, who does a really wonderful job, figuring out these grants and allocating these grants. I was fortunate enough to serve with them for a short period of time, and without them, we wouldn't have the mechanism to, review all the applications. The book that they get is it's super thick. There's hundreds of applications that they have to go through. So, just a quick shout out to the Fitchburg Cultural Council for the terrific work that they do as well. I yield the floor. Thank you.
Yeah, and I just want to say that this series that the Rec Department sponsors every year, along with the Cultural Council's contribution, is a staple that needs to continue as long as we can do it. It's a draw to the downtown, and a lot of people enjoy it when they go, and there's no downside to having these series. So glad to see it's continuing. Councilor Boschman.
One question. You have different kind of music, right? One week could be Elvis Presley, next week could be the Rolling Stones, and
Yes, sir. Actually, the concert series is going to run for 7 weeks. We already have all the performers booked for the whole series, and there's no Elvis this year, but there is there is a variety from Led Zeppelin, classic rock, alternative, Whitney Doucette, who's country. A lot of local acts. Derek Craig from Creative Cities, he's doing it as well. So we try to get local acts and a variety as well. So for everybody to enjoy.
Mr. Chair, I just want to set the record straight. I'm old, but I'm not that old for Elvis. I just figured the elderly people.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve 040-24. If there are no objections, it is approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Last item on the agenda, 041-24, in order that the City of Fitchburg hereby approves the transfer of $69,000 from health sanitary landfill expenses to health rubbish removal expenses. Director Curry.
Yes, good evening, councilors. No Led Zeppelin here. Councilors, this is a transfer before you to cover an outstanding debt that you are familiar with from FY23. It covers curbside collection. It would be the final bill or invoice. We've been negotiating with Waste Management since the last meeting. I think we have come to some sort of conclusion. Basically, we Before the fines, fees, and fights, we technically owed $96,000, actually almost $97,000. So we have agreed on both parties that $28,000 in penalties to the company for their services or lack of services was agreeable to both parties, as well as Waste Management agreed to a $10,000 community betterment fund. I feel this is a good step in the right direction for the company, Waste Management, to show good faith that they are willing to play as a partner and that they will continue to provide good services. As you know, recycling collection they've been providing since July hasn't been a problem whatsoever for us. So we'd like to settle this once and for all, and the $69,000 with an agreement to hold $10,000 for the Community Betterment Fund is what we finally negotiated. Be happy to answer questions. I also have a gentleman, Mr. Nacella, who's been with Waste Management for about 85 years, and he's willing to answer questions about curbside collection in previous years.
Council Bushman?
Yeah, Steve, I was looking over there. I was looking at the young man over there. I saw him talking. I thought I can read lips. Did I hear you say that you're going to do that betterment every year from starting this year on? Was it true? Did I hear that? I heard Steve say that to me? No? Not quite. I yield the floor. I want to say thank you, though, for the thoughtfulness. We can use it. And well, I think he said, and the mayor said to me when I talked to the mayor, too, and Steve said it today, we have a cleanup every year, different wards, so it's going to help out there a lot. So if you can do it every year, it'd be great. You know, they say March winds make a big mess, so the barrels fall over and the trash goes. I see times driving down Kimball Street, all the trash going down the road because of the wind so strong, sometimes 50, 60 miles an hour strong.
Councilor, I will say that our contract over the past 20-plus years, 30 that I've been around, that those cleanups have been reduced prices for dumpsters and
is that right?
Supplies. So, yes, they have been providing that service for a number of years.
I appreciate that, too. I yield the floor.
President Zarella.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask, while we've got you here on this topic, I'll say I haven't seen or heard any problems with the recycling since the summer either, but I'm curious, in an average month, how many missed recycling pickups are you getting reports of?
We've had, I would say on average, maybe a total of 4 or 5.
And how does that compare to prior?
Oh, it's much improved. Much improved.
Okay.
Yep. With 13,000 stops, I mean, you got to expect that a few get missed here and there.
Of course. Everyone's human.
Director Craig, can you explain for the public again what these fees are that we owe this company again? What did we do?
So the original bill, final invoice for June, which covers the final bill for FY23, is actually $96,803.76. It's a monthly invoicing, so several months services were behind, so we did reduce the invoices by the number of days that they were behind, or the number of collections at $25 a collection. That was done on a couple of months. All those fees plus yard waste collection was actually performed 1 week in November of last year in the fall season by the city of Fitchburg. They were unable to complete the service. So we did accumulate upwards of $50,000 worth of fees, fines, and arguments. But we have reduced that to $28,000.
No, but what is it that what is the $69,000 for?
$69,000 will close out FY23. It's the
right,
final.
but what is it though? Because we keep saying they're penalties. What is it?
It's just the final bill for traffic.
Just the final bill for collection.
Correct.
That we didn't pay them because this council previously didn't approve of the initial transfer.
That's correct.
So the public needs to understand why we didn't approve the initial transfer. Is because of their glittering and glowing incompetence for the last 3 years. And I have to keep hearing from you, sir, about what we charged them back. But I don't hear about the amount of time and effort where we gave them leniency. You said 2 months. I can recall over 3 years, torture at that company's hands for lack of pickups. 3 years. I remember it as clear as day. I won't bore you again with the story or the committee, where there were representatives of this company 3 years ago in 2021 telling us that every song and dance of why they keep missing pickups by 3, 4, 6 weeks. One of them even going as far to say, if you want to get rid of yard waste for us, please do it. They didn't even want to do the yard waste. And I think, even though I will admit that the recycling services have been far improved, what changed in July? They're not doing trash and yard waste anymore. So I would expect recycling to be far improved because they lost 2/3 of the service. Is that a fair statement that they don't have trash and yard waste were no longer on their docket starting in July when their recycling services picked up?
That's correct.
So I understand that we owe them this money. My problem is that I can probably quantify over 3 or 4 years where you didn't deduct from them. Out of your good graces in the former administration, which I disagree with to a point. So I'm very PTSD'd by this issue politically because the amount of problems I had to field from people over several years, and then the level of excuses I got from this company who should be thanking us that we have them doing business in this city because they're making out like bandits at that landfill. That's why we don't pay for the recycling. We don't pay for it because they're probably making 5, 6, 7 times the amount that they're gracing us by not charging us, which of course we're not allowed to see what they make at that landfill, our landfill. We can't see it because if we do, they have nothing to stand on because landfills are dying. And they're clinging on to this as much as they can. Not for just our benefit, for their benefit. They wouldn't be doing this service for free. They're making out like bandits over there. And so this is hard for me to stomach, even if it's contractual, because there are many instances I can recall as a counselor where contractually we let things slide with them. And I guess for me, as a voting member, I'm not supporting this. I don't care if they give us 30 grand, because I think it should be 0, and then we start fresh. Because while we charge them back, and this isn't a knock on you, sir, I think for what your office had to endure these last 3 or 4 years, and the amount of time you had to spend, and the amount of pain and anguish we all went through, with the mountain of complaints, we're getting a crumb of 10,000. But we owe them 69 because of the contract. I think if they were if they were an understanding company, they'd go, you know what? We'll waive the 69 because 69 is nothing to them. All right? Because they're making probably 10+ million off the landfill a year. I mean, so I understand that I'm probably going to be in the minority on this, but I've had too many years of this company making promises to us. They don't follow through. They make excuses. E.L. Harvey has been doing trash and yard waste now for 8 months. I've gotten 2 complaints, 2 missed pickups by them, and it's usually just 1 house or 2. Much smaller company than them. And they've had no issues. And they've gone through winters, every storm we've had, no problems. I have no sympathy or leniency anymore for this company. And I'm not going to support this transfer. I don't care what the contract says, because I know that there are many parts of the contract we let them skate on for many years. So forget it. They should say, we're done, we'll move forward, you guys don't owe us anything, we don't owe you anything, call it even. Because if I have to hear one more time that we are so lucky to have them provide us this service for free, they're providing this service for free because it's our landfill, they need it, and they're making mountains more than the $3 or $4 million that we get from them in revenue. Mountains more, or else they wouldn't be operating there. I've been in contract finance for 25 years. I know how the game works. I'm not begrudging a company for making money, but I also don't like being told that we should be grateful that we don't pay anything when they're making 3, 4, 5 times more than that, I bet. And so I've said enough. I've said this before. I was the one who filed a resolution last year, as you all recall, for a vote of no confidence in them when their contract was coming up. Not understanding at the time, as I should have, that there's 2 separate contracts. The yard waste and the trash was one, recycling is another, so we're stuck with them in perpetuity. And we can't do anything about that, really. And as I said before, I don't know what the incentive is in the future for them to perform. They've got a lock on that place. No incentive. So I hope in the future, if this happens again, I would be on your side 150% if you nailed the hammer down on them for even one mishap, so the message gets in. Because I think the leniency on this city's part for years is why they got complacent, and I'm done with the COVID excuses. President Zarella.
I'll yield to Councillor Cruz since he hasn't spoken.
Councillor Cruz, sorry, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I have to echo the sentiments of the chair. Just, you know, in the 2 years of my first term, trash pickup, missed pickup was by far the #1 complaint. I mean, hundreds of missed pickups in a 2-year period, and I imagine it's more like thousands across the entire city. This company is too big and too profitable to be as poor as it is. And that's fine that they've improved and recycling has gone up, and the gentlemen are here if you'd like to comment on any of my comments, but I mean, it doesn't take much searching to find out that we're not the only ones here. I mean, 1.4 out of 5 stars from 1,700 reviews on their Facebook page. Sitejabber, 1.1 out of 268. Trustpilot, 1.2. Yelp, 1.0. I mean, the performance is it's embarrassing. It's totally embarrassing. And the worst part is, you know, we heard a lot about, you know, we can't find drivers. According to ZipRecruiter, all the top cities with waste management driver opportunities are seeing salaries below the average. About $21.64 per hour was last time I checked. It's just, you know, it's tough. I think it's one of those instances where a company values its shareholders more than its customers, because we see, just like with Unitil, we see, you know, bragging on the site about record dividends year after year, record increases in profit, record increase in revenue. I mean, you take a quick look at some of these numbers. Annual revenue for 2023 was $20.426 billion, a 3.7% increase. From 01 to 02, they had a 9.5% increase. This company is making billions, and that's revenue, but the profit numbers are still in the billions. So I hate to hear this, like, we can't find anybody. We can't find anybody. We make billions in profit, but we can't afford to pay our drivers more than $21 an hour. I think it's embarrassing. It's despicable. It's just, you know, spitting on our heads and telling us it's raining. And I'm going to support this because I want it off the books and I want it out of the way. But that's all I have to say. I yield the floor. Thank you.
Yeah, on that, this is a budget transfer, so this isn't coming out of free cash, which lessens the sting a little bit. But my passion on this issue is not directed at you, and I say this all the time, Mr. Curry. I'm not blaming you. You're the middle guy here. You know, I felt sorry for you and your staff the last 4 years, what you had to endure from us, from residents, you know, because we would come after you folks because we can't go after them. You know, they're behind a shield. We have to go through you. And then you communicate to us, oh, they're going to be there next week. Can you give me a day? Tuesday. Tuesday comes, they're not there. Wednesday comes, they're not there. Thursday comes, they're not there. And then what do the residents do? They go after us, okay? And we're left like with our heads cut off. The sting is still very real for me. And contract or not, I can't get past the fact for the many instances where we gave them a pass. All right? And this company is going to milk us for $69,000. You know, I understand Councilor Cruz's point. He wants to get through this and just put it to bed. If this council decides to do that, I really hope, sir, that you lay the hammer down on them at every opportunity you can. Because I don't believe there's any incentive on their part to perform better. Why would there be? They have, how long is their contract? 25, 30 years?
Which contract?
The recycling contract, or the landfill contract.
Landfill contract is until capacity.
And that's what, 2034 or shorter?
Right now it's 2024.
2024.
Yep.
And that's when is that going to move?
That would move once construction is complete on the current project. So I would think around beginning of 2026 we'd have a rough idea what the projection is, somewhere around 2030.
Yeah, you know, I know you want to speak, Mr. President. I just think to myself the amount of time that your employees spent babysitting this company, including yourself, and I bet you it adds up to way more than $69,000, because you, sir, have been on record saying there were many periods you were spending half your time babysitting them. And, you know, your salary's a public record. Hell, this is close to that, half of it. So I'm not sitting here begrudging a private company making profits or anything. What irks me is the level of poor service we got over several years, and we gave this company leniency the first 2 times they came before us. I remember, I myself did. COVID, illnesses, lack of certified CDL licensed drivers, but everybody's going through this, not just us. Okay, fine. And then in 2023, when we had to have our own Department of Public Works pick up the yard waste, the excuses ended for me, because it was 3 years at that point. You know, and it's like, shape up or ship out. I know they won't ship out because there's no incentive for them to ship out. And I find it amazing that they will not tell us what they make off our landfill. Our landfill. What they're making. What's their total revenue over there? From all the cities and towns all over the Commonwealth in the United States, throwing stuff into our landfill. What are they getting? Here, you guys be quiet. We're going to give you the recycling for free. Look the other way. Come on. I know how it's played. They're probably making 10 times that amount, or else they wouldn't be here. So I'm voting against this. I don't care what the contract says. They were in breach of contract 3 years ago, infinitum. And I'm never going to forget what that gentleman said. I don't know what his name is. I forget his name, who said to us, yard waste isn't that important to us. It's last on our list. You want to get rid of it, please, do it. I've never heard a company in my life task a customer to take away business. That was the last straw for me when I heard him say that. And I'm going to understand, I believe he got a promotion. Fantastic. I'm done. President Zarella.
Thank you. I will be supporting the transfer because I am constitutionally allergic to saying I don't care what the contract says, though I sympathize. And as far as our continuing relationship goes, I'm perfectly happy to hope for the best going forward. It's been good since the summer. That's great. You know, the recycling's going okay. But I do have to point out one other thing that I remember very vividly from that meeting that the chair was referencing that stuck in my mind because you know how sometimes someone makes an excuse and the excuse is more of an admission of guilt than an actual excuse? I remember we were talking about the shortage of drivers, and this was 21. We were talking about the shortage of drivers, and the representative who was here then said, oh yeah, this is a nationwide shortage that goes back to 2018 at least. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, well, if this was a known problem back in 2018, then it was a known problem when the latest contract was signed. And in my mind, at least, you don't get to claim hardship under a contract when the hardship was something you knew going in. If I say, I will, if I'm doing an Uber thing and I say I will pick you up at X time and drop you off at your destination, and I already know that I have my daughter's dance recital that might run long before the pickup, that's my problem because I knew about it ahead of time. It's not like some emergency came up. I shouldn't have said I can be there at 3 p.m. if I can't be there if I can't guarantee I'm going to be there at 3 p.m. And by the same token, if you know you have a driver shortage, don't promise services that you know you're going to have difficulty delivering, or at least give something in the contract by way of compensation that isn't just the, hunt us down for $25 a pickup, because that's an immense, I've got to imagine that's an immense amount of bookkeeping on the part of the health department, and basically discourages the city from ever actually claiming that. So again, it's in the past, that contract's gone, let's move forward, but I do have to say that's stuck in my mind for 3 years since then as just an absolutely flabbergasting statement for a professional company to make, to say, oh yeah, we knew about this thing that's causing us to fail to perform on the contract before we signed the contract. That's not excusable in my books. That being said, I will support the transfer because we have to just close it out so that we can put it behind us. I yield the floor.
I got one question.
Council Boschman.
Steve, I thought when you came in front of us the last time, this was because the gas prices went way up. And it was the makeup for the gas. They were paying X amount, and anything over the X amount, we would back them up on that. Is that true?
The reason why the account went in the red is because of that, yes.
Right, gas, because of the gas guys.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So, don't get me wrong, I understand what you guys are saying about, but I look at things differently. I was a paper boy, and I was telling him today, 13,000 cut pickups. I drove one at St. Joseph, and I went to one house with 3 floors, and I missed 1 floor completely. I was the same house, and I went to the 2nd floor and 3rd floor.
Counselor, I'm just going to say it. As I said earlier, I understood the explanations we were given by them the first 2 times. And then the problems not only continued, they got worse progressively. And I'm not talking about a missed pickup here and there. I understand that. I know drivers get sick. I know trucks break down. But you had instances where people had a missed pickup and it wasn't rectified for a period of several weeks, if that. And you had instances like in Councilor Cruz's ward especially, Jackson Ave, Phelps Street, where I would go to Mr. Curry, this resident's trash has been picked up in over a week. What's going on? Well, I'm told from Waste Management that they had to get new drivers or contractors, and they don't know the routes. That's what they told him. that their contractors and new drivers apparently aren't being trained or have GPS. They can't find the streets. That's my problem? Those were the kinds of explanations we were getting. This isn't about a missed pickup or someone making a mistake. That's ridiculous. Ask anybody in those streets. Every single week, more tickets, same places. I'm going, is this place doesn't exist on Google Maps anymore or something? Whoever is assigned there doesn't, okay, maybe once, but this was 2, 3, 4 times. So it's not, I want it understood, this is not about making a mistake. This is glaringly evident incompetence, where I have to tell my constituents, the taxpayers paying these bills, Waste Management's drivers don't know where they're going. So, I mean, it's been good so far, wonderful, but I maintain it's been good so far because they don't have to worry about 2/3 of the service anymore. They just focus on recycling now, you know, where they really want to be, because that's where all the money is, you know. So, and like I said, E.L. Harvey's already gone through 1 winter with us, 8 months, and I've gotten 2 See-Click-Fix tickets in 8 months. And each one I've put in, they were back there the time they said they were going to be back there. I always pray to God, if I get a complaint from a resident now about a missed trash, I'm going, please let it be trash. Please. Not recycle. Because if it's recycle, I got to do this. Because I don't know when the hell it's getting picked up.
What do you have to do?
The sign of the cross. All right? If it's trash, I go, oh, thank God. Now I can tell the resident it'll be there tomorrow. And it's there. So, yes, President Zorella.
Thank you. 2 things. One, just, I also had a paper route when I was a kid. Little later than yours, but not by that much. And I did sometimes miss drop-offs. Thing is, what would happen is I'd miss a drop. Either I or one of my parents would get a call on the house phone saying, hey, I didn't get my paper today. And then my dad and I would hop in the car and get that person their paper before the end of the night. So, you know, that's what you do when you make a simple error, you make a simple correction. The other thing is I had forgotten to mention the thing about the gas. Thank you for reminding me, Counselor. I understand the purpose of a clause like that in a contract, but that was one of the reasons that I voted not to make this payment back when it first came up last year, because in the context of the service difficulties that we were having, it seemed petty to me to bill us for something as trivial on the scale of waste management as a few tens of thousands in gas escalation costs. It's like, at that scale, and when there's already this ongoing issue, it seems like just good business and good customer service to say, you know what, we'll eat that. We'll eat that because, yeah, we're paying a little more in gas than we expected, but you know what, we've put you guys through the ringer. Here, we'll take care of that because that's, you know, based on the numbers Councilor Cruz gave us, I can't even figure out how many zeros after the decimal point you'd get before you hit a percentage sign in terms of annual revenues. That said, my final comment is I don't know whether either of the 2 gentlemen sitting in the audience tonight had any direct responsibility or control over these issues. To the extent that they did, I'm not going to apologize for having them sit here and get blasted, because to the extent that they were the ones in charge, they deserve it. But if either or both of them were not the people who were personally responsible for this, I apologize to you personally for having to sit through this, because it's your company we're upset at. But either way, thank you for being here. And
Council Bushman, again?
Yeah, I'll get one thing. The only thing I want to say, seriously, I'm not sticking up for you guys. We all make mistakes. The only thing I didn't like when I talked to Steve is when he used to tell me, we're coming the next day, they'll be back the next day, and then the next day it comes, and when they come, and they call him again, he said, well, they'll probably come Saturday. Then they go Saturday, and I had to call him up, and he let me go up to him because I picked up the rut. I thought it was waste management because I used my truck to put the barrels in to go up to the landfill. Remember, you let me do that on Bernadette Street, the lady on Bernadette, because her trash was way up. And it was in the summertime because they had the, what do you call those? Maggots. The maggots were coming out, and I was pissed because it went all over me. I was upset. But, I said, oh, God. And then, but that's the only thing. If you guys are going to tell us that you're going to be there the next day, or, I appreciate, even you or Harvey, I expect it because I'm the one that's looking like a fool if I go back to Council Cruz or to Steve and say, hey, they told me the next day, and all of a sudden, 5 o'clock says, are they coming? I said, well, they said they were coming today. Then I get mad at him. And but that's it. But I'll make a motion that we accept.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to accept the transfer, or recommend to the full council that the transfer be granted. Because I'm opposed to this, we'll just take individual votes. Councilor Cruz?
Yes.
Councilor Walsh?
Yes.
President Zarella?
yes.
Councilor Boschman?
Yes.
And I'm a no, so it's 4-1 passes. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Second it.
Okay, if there are no objections to adjournment, we are adjourned. Thank you.